Powered by Riverside FM.
All right, so this week for our Browns Backers interview series, we get to chat with Cory from the Space City Dawg Pound. Cory, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And we really appreciate you joining us. We know everybody's time is valuable. So for you to take some out of your day and sit down with us and talk about your chapter, that's awesome. And with that being said, can you tell us a little bit about your chapter?
Yeah, sure. So we're Space City Dawg Pound, and our club was founded in 1994, which, as you know, was just right before the move to Baltimore. So the bulk of our history takes place after that. But I've been watching Browns games with these same guys for more than 20 years now. So it's been a pretty good club. We're one of the biggest clubs in Texas. Dallas has a pretty good club too, and so do Austin and San Antonio, but ours is definitely one of the bigger ones. We have now this year we have 3 locations across the Houston area. We had expanded from 2 to 4 last year. One of our locations on the south side of town, unfortunately, that bar had closed down, so we had to reduce back down to 3, but it's still more than we had a couple of years ago. We got our main location is at Stat Sports Bar on Luetta, and that's one that we have a lot of our longtime Browns backers meet at. We have one that's now at Ducky McSweeney's, which is in Galleria, more of the central part of the city, and it's a new one this year. We moved from one location from Craft Republic to Ducky McSweeney's, and so far the feedback's been great. Fans love it. I've heard some fans say this is almost too nice for us because we're Browns fans. We're not used to nice things. And then we have a third location on the north side of town in Magnolia at Draft 1488. So all 3 locations have been pretty good this year. On an average game day, we might have anywhere from like 20 to 50 fans at each of those locations. Especially beginning of the season, there's always huge crowds, but then tends to dwindle a little bit towards the end of the season. But of course, this year we're having a pretty good year, and the attendance has been sticking around. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so at these each of your viewing locations, do they kind of put a space aside for you guys? You have your own room, or how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. We've had multiple locations over the years, and the locations that I've visited, we've outlasted a lot of the bars that we viewed at. When we started watching games at Stat Sports Bar, initially it was more Texans, and the bigger area was for the Texans fans, and we had a off to the side area. Well, over time, they realized that the Browns fans were more dedicated to watching games there than the Texans fans, and that swapped. We got the big area, and they got off to the side. And now it's almost to the point where there's only a handful of Texans fans out there at all. We pretty much have the whole bar to ourselves there.
Nice.
Ducky McSweeney's is a bar that's actually owned by someone from Cleveland, and so that's how we got to make that arrangement this year. And I don't think were a location that had a lot of football fans go to before us, so we pretty much have the run of the whole place there as well.
Oh, that's why they have such a good name, the dudes from Cleveland.
Yeah. Yep. And then at Draft 1488, we have a dedicated side of the bar that we get every week. So every time we have a viewing location, we try to have that kind of arrangement where we have, a whole section at least of the bar assigned to us with sound, so that we can see the game, hear the game, and make sure that the staff is there to support us and have enough staff on hand.
So being that you're in Houston, I got to imagine that that the fans you interact with from like the Houston side, is it generally pretty easy to get along with those? It's almost like there's kindred spirits in the fact that they've had a team pulled and then returned. I mean, is there conversation about that, or is it more standoffish than that with the group down there?
We're friendly with our Texans fans down here. We're not division rivals anymore, like we were back in the days of the Oilers, where we might have been a little bit less friendly. But we get along with the Texans fans pretty well. And like you said, they've also experienced getting their team ripped away, so they know what it's like. And most of them are pretty good people. Well, we definitely don't mind Texans fans as much as we mind having Steelers fans show up, which
nobody
hasn't been as much trouble in recent years. But I know a while ago that one of the locations we went had fans from almost every club show up, and there were quite a few Steelers fans that would come sometimes, and we got into some heated debates with the Steelers fans.
Was it heated debates with your fists?
Not quite, but there were times I wondered.
Yeah. No, and so one of the reasons that we do this, Cory, and highlight different Browns backers groups across the nation is because obviously we all know that there's Browns fans everywhere. But what a lot of people don't know is that all these Browns backers groups are also involved with a lot of charity or community service work in their communities. So are you guys involved with any community service or charity work down there?
Definitely. We pick a charity that we want to support every season. And for the past couple of years, we supported the same charity, which is called Sydney Song. And that's an organization that supports a girl that's from this area that has this rare brain disorder. And so everything that Sydney Song raises goes to NBIA Disorders Association. And they actually last year had a conference in Houston, and we were one of their primary sponsors. So they were definitely grateful for what we were able to do for them last year. Through our efforts last year, I think we donated about $6,000 to them. So
wow.
That helped them a lot with hosting that event last year. And, it's a charity that was brought to our attention by Stat Sports Bar. They were already supporting them, and we heard about the story, and we were like, we want to make a difference in this community, not just support a generic national charity. We want to support something that we can see where we're making a difference. So that's been something that we've been really happy to support over the last couple of years. And last year, we had a game here in Houston as well. So this is our second year in a row hosting a game. And last year, one of the big reasons we were able to make that much of a charitable contribution is we had a huge number of fans attending our events last year with that game, because that was actually the first game that Deshaun Watson came back to play after his suspension. So there's a lot of hype, a lot of buzz around that. And so we had a backer bash the night before that game, and we had over 400 people attend that backer bash the night before the game. So many they had to turn people away at the door because it was, they started to bring in the extra police presence and fire code. They're like, okay, we can't let any more in.
Nice.
But that was a huge event last year. We had Webster Slaughter and Eric Metcalf there signing
both
autographs.
Friends of the show. Good guys.
Yeah, they're great guys. So through them being there and our raffles and our T-shirt sales, we were able to raise a lot of funds. And then we have a tailgate every time the or every time there's a game in Houston as well. And last year's tailgate, we had 230 people that bought barbecue tailgate plates from us, and that was also part of our charitable fundraising efforts.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. And so a couple things here. You mentioned the game Deshaun Watson returning last year, and that was significant on our show because we talked about it and how the NFL when they started the whole suspension process, they were very high and mighty and talking about how we need to come down hard on him and this, that, and the other thing. But then the weird thing was the suspension got reduced to the day that would have the best TV ratings, which is when he returns to Houston to face his former team. So we remember that well. But the other thing was, you mentioned all these events that you guys are doing. And that takes me directly into my next question here, which is, do you guys have any upcoming events that you're hosting or looking forward to? Obviously, the game is in Houston this week, or even if there's something in the off season here.
Yeah, definitely we're doing the same events like we did last year. We have the Backer Bash the night before. So this year that's going to be at Ducky McSweeney's.
How many people signed up so far?
Well, we did. It's kind of hard to gauge because it is Christmas Eve, right? So there's a lot of people that are out of town for Christmas. I'm expecting a smaller crowd than last year for that reason, and because there's a little bit less buzz around Deshaun Watson's first game back. So I'm expecting a smaller crowd this year, but I'm still expecting a pretty good number of people to come, and we have a better site this year to host this. We have right next door, they have an adjacent event space. So we're going to have that whole event space. We'll be able to set up for our raffles and our t-shirt sales. And we have the some appetizer sampler plates that'll be available. We have those available for pre-sale. We've already been selling those. I think we've already got like 30, 40 of those sold. But I'm expecting somewhere probably around the 200-ish range. I'm expecting not as many as the 400 we had last year, but you never know. There's always fans that come in from out of town, and they're not necessarily coming from Cleveland. They might be coming from neighboring states or other areas. If they don't get the Browns coming to their town, they often pick other cities where they can attend a game that, since they don't get to have one in their city. So we get clubs, of course, from all over Texas that come to us. We get a lot of fans from Louisiana and all across the country, and then of course all the fans from Cleveland and Ohio that want to come down. Last minute, my phone will be ringing off the hook. I'll be getting all these emails and texts. Hey, where's all the events? Where can we go? So I'm expecting still have a pretty good event. We have a lot of great raffle prizes for Saturday night, and that starts 5 o'clock at Ducky McSweeney's on Post Oak.
Nice. I was just going to say, with 200 people, so you're telling me it's still going to be a pretty damn big party is what's happening.
That's what I'm thinking it should be. Yep. Yeah, and people told us last year, they couldn't believe how great the atmosphere was last year, and I got some, a lot of feedback through our social media channels and through email, and people tell me how it felt like they were back home in the flats or something. So
nice.
That was good to hear that people enjoyed it, and it brought them back to what an event in Cleveland might be like.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, obviously, again, just a huge party this week. I'm sure you guys are looking forward to that, and everybody else that's in the Houston area. But let's talk a little bit of football here.
Can I ask one question before you start with football stuff?
Let's go.
Cory, can you give me? You guys have one of the more unique logos and names in terms of
they do
a Browns backers group. Can you give me a little insight? Just was it always Space City Dawg Pound? Was that a relatively new moniker that you guys have adopted? What's the history and the story there?
Yeah, so I did happen to have a shirt ready in case you talked about our logo, but the Space City Dawg Pound.
Hold it up just a little higher.
Yeah, there you go. So it is the name that our club's had since the beginning. I think they wanted to make it sound a little bit more unique than just Houston Browns backers, and Space City is a nickname of Houston because of NASA Space Center being here in town. And then our club wanted to design a logo that looked like one of those NASA emblems that you would see on a mission. So we had somebody that had some artistic talent and put this together for us. So we've been using this for the last 6-7 years maybe.
Yeah, that's a very very good logo. We're weird about logos, and we just like the design process and everything that goes into it. And I actually was talking to him earlier today. I said, "Man, this is a good logo." So, well done to whichever member had the artistic ability to come up with that. But yeah, on to the football side of things here. So, first things first. What are your thoughts on the game against the Bears this past week? What'd you think?
I think all of us were thinking that game was going to be a bit easier than it turned out to be. Being against a team that's really struggled this year in the Bears, and being at home where the team has really played its best football all year at home. So it was a bit scarier in the second half than I was hoping it was going to be coming into it. But it's the NFL. Anybody can win any given week. You can't take anybody for granted. I thought that we got a slow start in that game. I was hoping that we'd take that opening kickoff and go down and score an opening TD on our opening drive and get that lead established and set the tone for the rest of the game. Fortunately, we weren't able to get on the board, and then it took us a while to start putting some points up. And we were in the third and fourth quarter, and we were still sitting at 7, and it was really starting to look like we would be in trouble of being able to pull that game out. But I had faith that Joe Flacco would use his confidence to help us drive down the field towards the end there and get us in position to try to win the game. And it actually turned out to be the case. So, it was a great win for us. I wish that they didn't make us sweat it out quite so much every week, but it's always good to come out with a win.
Thank God for Dustin Hopkins, right?
Oh yeah.
No, and so with that, obviously the Bears game, like you said, was much closer than we thought. But how do you think the Browns have looked so far this season? And I actually have a second part to that. Obviously, the team has more injuries than any team in the history of football ever. So how do you think they've done coping with those and overcoming those as well?
They've been doing well, overcoming the diversity from the injuries, especially big players like Nick Chubb, who's one of our favorite players and the rock of this team and our offense. And he's been out since early this season. So when he went down, we were worried for sure. But the defense has, as you know, stepped up in a huge way this season. Jim Schwartz has got this team playing really great defense, keeping us in games, even games that are a little bit ugly where we're maybe struggling to score points. That defense has been able to keep us in those games and give us a chance to win. So we're definitely feeling pretty good about this team, despite those injuries. But it would be nice to see some more comfortable wins coming through like we had earlier in the season when we held some of those teams to 3 points or even a shutout. So we'd like to see a little bit more consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cory, in your time watching the Browns, can you remember a defense that's played this well, this cohesive all year long?
Probably not since the late 80s, back when we had the original Dog defense, with Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield in the backfield there, and Clay Matthews and linebacker, and those days we had a really strong defense that I could also trust to keep us in games and come up with big plays when we needed them. So it's been quite a while since I really felt this good about our defense.
Yeah, it's just so hard because thinking back, even just from '99 forward, like we don't have any frame of reference for
no.
what this. I mean, it really truly is special. But it's like, how special is it? Obviously, we had some really strong teams there in the late '80s, mid '80s for sure. But I think that's about as close as we can get, right? I can't imagine. I can't think of another Browns team that's had a defense that's played this well and overcome so much over the course of the season.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, and I don't think we really had a huge number of personnel changes, so the core of that defense was really in place. It was just, I think, the coaching has made a big difference this year, and getting the team to perform to the maximum of their abilities. And of course, Garrett's just been a beast all year this year, keeping us in games, putting a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. And as of late, Emerson's really been standing out at cornerback and making some big plays with some interceptions and some pass defense. So liking what we're seeing out of those guys for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, let's look to this week. So what are your thoughts on the Week 16 matchup with the team down there, the Houston Texans?
Yeah, I'd say, at the beginning of the season, this is another one of those games where we looked at and we might have been counting an easy W on this, on looking at it on paper at the beginning of the season. But, the Houston's really turned things around this year. D'Amico Ryans, their new quarterbacks, really got them playing well. CJ Stroud, although he's out, I think this week still, he's had a great season all year. And, as a Buckeye, we like to see him be successful. But he's definitely helped this team turn things around quickly. And this is no easy matchup, I would say, for sure. Even though it's a little bit easier with CJ Stroud still out, the team's still playing pretty well, even without CJ Stroud. So, definitely not one that I think is going to be easy. I think, it's always tough to go into NRG, especially when the Texans are playing well and the home fans get in there and make a lot of noise. So.
And so
I was going to ask, so obviously last year game landscape was entirely different with Sean coming back to town. Given the emergence of CJ Stroud this year, is the thought kind of like Deshaun Who there in Houston now, or is there still scuttlebutt around just everything that went down and just the whole situation in general?
I think a little bit. Yeah, they're Deshaun Who. They kind of want to move on from that and forget about it because, the way that his tenure ended here in Houston really left the fans on a sour note, and they're ready to look ahead and move forward. And CJ Stroud's really given them that hope that they've been looking for the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. And so you mentioned the hope. So is it just completely rejuvenated that fan base? I mean, I know they were probably feeling pretty down. So I mean, is it like a total 180 since he started?
I don't know if it's quite there yet. I think there's still some skepticism amongst the fans. Is this team for real? But definitely the fan base is more buzzed about the Texans than they were at the beginning of the year. I still think that they could get a little bit even more behind this team as time goes on. In terms of how the crowd will be at NRG this weekend, I think you'll see a lot of Browns fans there again, like we saw last year. I'd say last year the Browns fans were louder in NRG than the Texans fans because they were having a bad year and they were just kind of, they came to and booed Deshaun early in the game and then they were kind of didn't have much to cheer about. But this year, they're going to have more of the home crowd in there supporting their team, and if they're having a good game, it'll be a lot tougher for us to play there than it was last year.
It actually surprises me a little bit that there's not more energy there, given CJ.
Given the name of the stadium is Energy.
Well, just given CJ Stroud's season. I mean, you have a rookie quarterback come in that's going to
who's arguably in the MVP race
for 4,000 yards and 25 plus touchdowns. Probably, if he gets healthy, he gets to play before the end of the year again. But I would think that would turn the tide quite a bit. But it sounds like they still have some work to do to kind of win fans over.
Yep.
Yeah, and I kind of judge based on their turnout for the Texans fans at the bars that we watch at, like stats. At first there used to be a pretty good Texans fans presence, but now it's still trying to recover from what it used to be. They're not all the way back to where they were before, but when Deshaun Watson was playing his peak and didn't have the controversy, the fans were really hype here in Houston about this team. And they're still trying to get back to where, they haven't got all the fans back on their side yet, but they'll get there.
Yeah. And so, real quick, what are they saying locally about the Browns? I mean, are they viewing this game as like, okay, we can win this, or they think the Browns are tough? Like, we do have a lot of injuries. What are they thinking down there?
Oh, I'm thinking that they see us as a tough opponent for sure. They see our record just like the rest of the league. They know that we're solidly in the wild card race. We could maybe even clinch a spot maybe this weekend if all things go right. And they know that the Browns are definitely a team that is no easy victory, and that the defense is playing well, and I think they're expecting a really tough game.
And so, final question for the game here, Cory. What's your prediction for this game? What's the score going to be?
Let's see. I'm thinking it's going to be probably a little bit like last week against the Bears. The defense is going to have to be what carries us through, I think. But I'm hoping for a little bit more on the offensive side. So I'm thinking maybe something like 27-17, something like that, Cleveland. But
27-17. Nice. I like it. And so, real quick, before we go here, Cory, our time is starting to wind down, but I do want to talk about one thing, or a couple things. We'll start off with, we wanted to mention that we are brought to you by who, Kenny?
Seaside Events.
As the official cruise event provider of the Cleveland Browns and organizer of the Browns Fan Cruise. And so with that in mind, they did run a competition a while back for Browns backers. It is over. They did announce the winner. The winner was, I believe, the Browns backers of Pinellas.
Sounds right.
However, we still do want to let everybody out there know that we will be emceeing several events aboard the ship, and there will be 17 alumni joining the cruise that fans will get to mingle with like normal people, just walking around on deck. And if you see them, you get to talk to them, shake their hands, whatever the case may be. And so for anyone that's thinking about joining the fan cruise but has not booked yet, just go do it. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of cool events for Browns fans that you won't get anywhere else. And that sets sail in March of 2024.
And even though the Browns backers competition is over, there is still a promotion going on right now that allows you some like cash back, depending on the cabin.
Until December 31st.
Yeah.
So, and then real quick, Cory, one more question for you. Anything else you want to say to Cleveland fans that may have kind of moved away from Northeast Ohio? They're missing their fellow Browns fans. They're potentially thinking about joining a Browns backers chapter out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a fun thing to do. It's always better to watch with other Browns fans and have folks to high five with when things are going well. Every city across the country's got Browns backers group of some kind. So if you move somewhere, just look them up on the Browns backers website. There's surely going to be 1, 2, 3 clubs in the area that you could start watching some games with and start making some friends and start having a good time watching Browns with each week.
Absolutely. And final thing here, Kenny, you want to tell them?
Yeah, we just have one final thing here. If you'd like to share with your group, we do have something as a part of our show called the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. That is a voicemail box. It is open 24/7, 365, ready for messages for incoming Browns fans to either praise the team, complain about the team, share your thoughts, share your hot takes, anything that you want to get off your chest, talk about play calling, matchups, anything at all. We'd love to hear. We love to hear from Browns fans all the time, and then we take the best calls and we put them on our show. So
we've literally set up a voicemail for Browns fans to call and vent. Like the best thing that could have ever happened.
A little bit cathartic, a little bit therapeutic. So if they want to call that number, we'll put it up on the screen here on the video podcast. But for the audio version, it is 330-227-8080. I'll say it one more time, 330-227-8080 for anyone that would like to call and share their thoughts with us here on the Burning River Sportscast.
Absolutely. Cory, it has been great having you. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we hope to get down there to Houston area to meet you guys in person sometime.
Yeah, and just one last thing to mention to any of the Browns fans that are coming to town for the game, we will have a tailgate in the orange lot at NRG. You have to pre-purchase your parking tickets for that lot. None of the parking at NRG is cash, so you have to order it through StubHub or Ticketmaster or wherever, all you have to do is get inside and then find the orange lot and look for all the orange and brown. There'll be a bunch of us there, and we'll have our barbecue tailgate. And even if you're not participating in our fundraiser barbecue, you could still just come and hang out with us all and have a good time.
Did you guys pick the orange lot on purpose?
I think so.
Nice. Well, again, Cory, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. We're the Space City Dawg Pound, and you're listening to the Burning River Sportscast. Go Browns.